Okay, so good day, everyone. Apparently, we cannot say good morning because there are people all around the world. So, good day, everyone, and welcome to lesson 60 of the Words of My Perfect Teacher. So, as usual, we will start by preparing ourselves for the session. So let's relax our body, speech, and mind, and maybe just take a minute to breathe, to get in a comfortable position, sitting up straight, with your back straight, but without any tensions, and then just breathing in and out, simply, naturally. Just bringing mind and the body together in one place in this moment, without following the past or anticipating the future. Just stay here in this moment. So while we keep breathing naturally, keeping a calm mind, we can visualize the five perfections, sorry. Visualize that we are right now in the perfect place, Sukhavati. That we are receiving the teaching from Amitabha Buddha himself. We are under his guidance and protection. That everyone participating is the assembly of bodhisattvas. Everyone has Buddha nature. Every participant is so important. And all beings from the six realms are invited to participate as well. And hopefully can benefit from the session. And we will be receiving the perfect Dharma. Mahayana Buddhism, the great vehicle. And this is happening in a time without beginning, without duration, and without end. A time that continues always. We can just take a short moment to visualize all this by ourselves. Having all this in mind, being surrounded with all those beings, we can now take refuge. Nankene senanka gambayi, lama yidam kandran sonandam, songye chodam papo gidumla, dandandra bukyope kapsache. Nankene senanka gambayi, lama yidam kandran sonandam, songye chodam papo gidumla, dandandra bukyope kapsache. I and all beings of the six classes respectfully take refuge in the Gurus, Yidam deities, and hosts of Dakinis, and in the Buddha, Dharma, and Noble Sangha who fill the expanse of space at the level of the sky. I'm generating bodhicitta. Dada Sachinam, Yin is Sangye Impala, Imbrashipudagnitu, Jam Cham Chapta Sankedo. Dada Sachinam, Yin is Sangye Impala, Imbrashipudagnitu, Jam Cham Chapta Sankedo. I and other sentient beings, infinite in number, have always been Buddhas from the very beginning. In acknowledgement that this is how things are, we generate the mind of supreme awakening. Prayer to Guru Rinpoche Padma Sambhava. Umurgen Nidjin Nachamsam, Pama Gesar Dompul, Yapshan Chokin Nujuni, Pama Jane Jesuda, Guru Dokandru Mampako, Keke Jesuda Druji, Jinji Laji Shashaso, Guru Pama Siddhihon. Umurgen Nidjin Nachamsam, Pama Gesar Dompul, Yapshan Chokin Nujuni, Pama Jane Jesuda, Guru Dokandru Mampako, Keke Jesuda Druji, Jinji Laji Shashaso, Guru Pama Siddhihon. Home, in the northwest of the land of Odiyana, in the heart of a lotus flower, endowed with the most marvelous attainments, you are renowned as the lotus-born, surrounded by many hosts of Dakinis. Following in your footsteps, I pray to you, come, inspire me with your blessing. Guru Pema Siddhi Hom. Om is a Guru Pamasada. 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 Home. Now, prayer to Jingmei Punso Rinpoche. Nei Chinru Zeni Jiao Gangsi, Jampa Tuji Jinla Ilam, Jingmei Punso Jala Solada, Gongke Topa Poa Xin Chielo. Nei Chinru Zeni Jiao Gangsi, Jampa Tuji Jinla Ilam, Jingmei Punso Jala Solada, Gongke Topa Poa Xin Chielo. In the pure realm, the great sacred site, the five-peaked mountain, the blessings of Manjushri's wisdom ripened in your mind. Jingmei Punsuk, at your feet I pray. Inspire me with your blessings. Transmit the realization of the wisdom mind lineage. In Patrol Rinpoche's supplication to his guru, which is inspired from the session, the section on karma, the fourth preliminary. You renounce evil and take up good, as in the teachings on cause and effect. Your action follows the progression of the vehicles. Through your perfect view, you're free from all clinging. Peerless Guru, at your feet I bow. Homage to the teacher Buddha Shakyamuni. Homage to the wisdom warrior Manjushri. Homage to the entire lineage of benevolent masters. The unsurpassed, profound, and wonderful Dharma is difficult to encounter even for hundreds, thousands, or millions of eons. Now that I get the chance to see, hear, receive, and practice it, may I realize the ultimate meaning of the Tathagata. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. So, before we move to the text that we have to read, I just wanted to look at where we have been so far. And then I thought that what we could do is just take a little moment to contemplate on the prayers that are presented at the end of each chapter of the 4 common preliminaries. Because there are always a little 4 lines at the end that encompasses pretty much the whole chapter. So I think that this is quite nice. And since we have only started karma the last session, then I thought it could be a good idea just to keep in mind the previous 3 preliminaries. So I would just suggest that you can maybe close your eyes and just listen to this and then contemplate a little bit on what is said. Okay. Precious human life. Although I have won these freedoms, I am poor in Dharma, which is their essence. Although I have entered the Dharma, I waste time doing other things. Bless me and foolish beings like me, that we may attain the very essence of the freedoms and advantages. Impermanence of life. Impermanence is everywhere, yet I still think things will last. I have reached the gates of old age, yet I still pretend I am young. Bless me and misguided beings like me, that we may truly understand impermanence. Defects of samsara. I see that samsara is suffering, but crave it still. I fear the abyss of the lower realms, but continue to do wrong. Bless me and those who have gone astray like me, that we may sincerely renounce the things of this life. Yeah, personally, I always feel like these end of chapter prayers are quite powerful. And then when I remember them or when I read them, they have quite a hammer-like effect on me personally. So I don't know if they do the same to you, but hopefully they do. Yeah. Okay, so where we are now, we have started last week, chapter 4, which is the fourth common preliminary on cause and effect. And this chapter covers the 10 negative actions to be abandoned, which contains 3 actions of the body: taking life, taking what is not given, sexual misconduct; 4 negative actions of speech: lying, sowing discord, so there's a mistake here, typo, harsh speech and wordless chatter; and then 3 negative actions of the mind: covetousness, wishing harm on others, and wrong views. And then it explains the effects of the 10 negative actions. There's also the positive actions to be adopted. And finally, the all-determining quality of actions, which is explaining karma in a certain way. Yeah. And today we are in the second session on taking life. Last week, actually, we if I just very quickly review what we did, because we're continuing in this chapter. So we addressed obviously a general introduction, but then we talked about direct killing, and we addressed why taking life is so wrong, and then we'll come back to this again today. We talked about different types of killings that involve desire, anger, and ignorance. And also we addressed indirect killing. So when there can be unintentional killing and asking others to kill on your behalf. And this is actually something we will come back again as well this week on. Then we talked about monks, lamas, and killing. And actually this is also something we'll come back on this week, because there's a section about lamas, as you will see in a second. And we talked about consuming meat, and we will again come back to this week. So I think there's a nice continuity in the 2 sessions. So what we are going to discuss today, we will start with talking about women and meat eating. Then we will have a brief overview of the idea that all lives are precious, and then that humans shouldn't consider themselves as more important than others. Then we will focus on taking animal lives, which we will discuss two things in general. So the 4 elements of completing the act of killing animals, which were addressed as well last week in general, but we'll talk about them specifically in the case of killing animals today. We will talk about lamas, and when lamas teach how to kill animals, which can be maybe a little bit strange when we read this, but there's a reason for that. Then we will talk about the importance of compassion. And also, what if not all 4 elements are present, which is also something we discussed last week. So we're going to come back to this again, and this will bring probably more answers to the questions that might have been raised last week. And finally, there will be a very brief conclusion, just 2 paragraphs, I think. So the questions that we will have in mind during all this and come to at some point will be, why focusing on women specifically? And then, once again, why is killing the most severe among all 10 negative actions? So what are the premises of world peace and harmonious society? And is that okay to eat meat that you did not kill by yourself? So these are the general questions that we'll answer. I modified them a little bit from the original, so I tried to adapt them a little bit, but it's the essence of what was covered in the original questions. Okay, so now we can start reading Kempo's commentary. Just need to bring the text here. Okay, I guess this should be big enough. Or maybe it's too big, just like this. Okay, so I will just ask people to read. Maybe we could start with Chris.
Okay, thank you.
Just 1 second. I realized that I didn't change the color. I want to bring it back to yellow. My computer is not slow. Okay, now we're good. Thank you.
So you're gonna start with the number one.
Yeah, we start here.
Okay. Woman and meat eating. Now let us continue to study taking life, the first of the 10 negative actions to be avoided. When we celebrate holidays or invite guests, we often engage in numbers of acts of killing. In the words of my perfect teacher, Patrol Rinpoche primarily addresses this issue with examples of Tibetan women, illustrating that even a woman can be involved in horrific acts of killing. Yesterday, we learned that when a Tibetan woman gets married, countless sheep are slaughtered by the groom's family. Let's continue on this topic. Afterward, whenever the young bride returns to visit her family, another animal is inevitably killed. If her friends and relatives invite her out, serve anything that then other than meat, she fades shocked, loses her appetite, and eats in affected manners as if she got forgotten how to chew. However, when she's presented with a plump sheep and a generous serving of breast meat of tribe, the young bride, like a rat-faced little glutton, sit down with great seriousness, take out her small knife and devours it all with noisy enthusiasm. The next day she departed burdened with the bloody carcasses, resembling the hunter returning home, except worse for each outing, ensure for she will not return empty-handed. When hunters go out hunt, they sometimes return home empty-handed. But each time such a woman visits her own family, she is sure to bring back meat. As I mentioned,
Just as a reminder, we don't need to read the text that is shaded in gray. Okay,
okay.
no problem.
As I mentioned previously, Tibetans traditionally follow a diet that heavily rely on meat, which is not considered healthy. However, it is undeniable that
Oops,
scarcity,
sorry. Here, sorry.
okay, factors such as geography, transportation, climate, and other contribute to scarcity of vegetable and grain of that time, which is very different from situation today. Generally speaking, women who are often gentle tend to be less daring than a man. However, sometimes women can be fiercer than men when it comes to killing. Some women may appear gentle, kind, and well educated, but they can be ruthless when it comes to consuming animal. It can be quite scary to witness blood occasionally dripping from their teeth. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. So, any reaction from this section?
Yeah, I got reaction from the beginning.
Okay.
From I was reading woman, I almost sent the emoji laughing wise women, and then you show me the question, wise woman. It's kind of weird. I thought woman is it's kind of like gentle, kind, compassion, loving kindness. why the topic is to women. I'm sorry
Yeah.
to all women.
Yeah, that's actually
I'm
why
sorry,
I was
Sally,
raising this
Christina, and
question.
Kim.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was raising this question, because I thought this is not in the original questions that were provided.
Yeah.
But when I was reading this, I feel like, wow, yeah, indeed, this is a an interesting question. Like, why is Campo focusing on women here in particular? So, what would be your take, or anyone else's take as well? Maybe women would like to to voice their own opinion about this. But how do you feel about that, Chris?
Huh?
How do
Sorry.
you feel about this? Yeah.
It's quite scary, you know. It's I don't know, Jonathan. Honestly, I don't know. I just kind of surprised me. Yes. Because I was born from a mother too. My
Mm,
mother is a woman. I
mm,
highly like respect my mother,
mm.
and she's a woman. One one more time.
Indeed. I think Julian is coming to the rescue here.
Oh, hello.
Yes,
Um,
Julian.
so my thoughts are like I think about I'm from Romania, and when I think about my family and how I was raised up, um, I'm not sure whether it's something related to the fact that women have been sort of have the duty of like making food and cooking, that they've kind of ended up having to kind of take over this sort of like unfortunate habit of ending up, slaughtering animals to cook the food themselves. It's not necessarily a gender issue. It's just that
Mm,
in my family, for example, my mom I mean, she, did have the duty of like was killing chickens and kind of making food. So, and I think, I mean, obviously men. I think there is a habit in like Christian culture, slaughtering pigs for and other animals for certain holidays, and I think that indeed it is kind of undertaken by men more so than women. But women tend to, or in Romanian culture, tend to kind of kill like birds a lot more than men, because that's more of a, I think, more of a frequent demand, because of the fact that we tend to eat a lot of chicken, and I just wonder whether, I mean, in answer to that question, I wonder whether it's because of the fact that women have this duty of like preparing food rather than being women. I'm not sure whether that makes sense.
that's interesting. Yes, thank you. We'll see. Sally is next. Sally.
Okay, I forgot
Yep.
to open my. Yeah, here it's not really talking about a woman's tender nature and so forth, but the point that the animals are killed for her on her wedding, on her returning home, and the fact that she consumed the meat, joyfully. So that's because of this fact that actually it's implied that you don't have to kill the animal yourself, but you rejoice in eating that equal that you kill the animals. Yeah.
Mm, mm,
Because the moment you just they don't kill. So they use this as a contrast. The most gentle person on appearance could also involve in killing unknowingly. Thank you.
exactly. That's also actually how I was reading this. That here Kempo is using women because we have concepts. Huh? We have concepts in our mind of what is a man, what is a woman, with our dualistic thinking, and we have so many more concepts and stereotypes. And I think that Kempo is using this, and this is also present in the Words of My Perfect Teacher as well. So it's not just Kempo who talks about this, but imagining a person, and it can be a woman or it doesn't have to be a woman, but women will sometimes incarnate this image of being more graceful and nice and kind, and especially when we think of woman as our mother, as Chris mentioned as well, because in Buddhism, thinking of the mother is a very important aspect. When we want to generate compassion for all beings, we will very often say, like, I need to visualize that and come to a conclusion, a conviction that all beings have been my mothers in the past, so that the woman image and then the mother image are, generally speaking, not viewed from an angle of anger and killing and being menacing. I know we don't normally associate the image, the stereotype of a woman to be like this. So using it here is a way to break this view, this dualistic view, and see that, as Sally just said, that even the person that we can envision as being the gentlest, the nicest person can turn into a demon, literally, when eating meat. So it doesn't have to be just woman in particular, but it strikes us maybe more in today's society, and especially in the West, where we're walking on how to say, what's the expression in English, on thin ice. Let's see, I think it works. We're walking on thin ice whenever we raise the gender issue and all these things. So here it's not really a matter of gender itself, but just breaking our stereotype and envisioning that indeed the gentlest person can manifest as the most ferocious animal when they start eating animals. Yeah. So yeah, it was quite an interesting passage of the text. Anyone else, or we move to the next section?
I want to add one more thing. It's I mean, for men and women, right? When we in countless time, we previous life maybe a man, or this life maybe a woman. This is just the tendency we carried from our consciousness. We like for this consciousness, this alaya, they have this tendency to enjoying the meat, right? So it's not, really a man and women, because we can change your gender in previous lives or future lives. So it's just that the mind carry this tendency, carry this habit. So, yeah, thank you.
Indeed. Thank you. Okay, good. Let's move to the second section. So maybe Kim.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
Hi. All lives are precious. Interestingly, when a tiger consumes a human, it is labeled as a ferocious beast. However, humans, despite consuming countless other beings, are not considered ferocious. In fact, humans are the most ferocious beings in the world. Additionally, humans tend to prioritize their own interest above all else, often disregarding other species. When several thousand people perished in the usual earthquake, the tragedies garnered global attention, and mass media outlets commented on the pitiful state of the victims. However, every day in slaughterhouses and markets, countless animals are killed. Their lives no different from ours. Sadly, many people remain indifferent to this reality. There are no equivalent animal rights law in place to protect them, which is undeniably unfair. In this world, it is wrong to consume other animals as food. Buddhists have played a positive role in challenging the negative practice. I hope that in the future, more attention will be given to abstaining from killing, releasing lives, giving up a meat-based diet, and adopting a vegetarian diet. Otherwise, some lay people who have been studying the Dharma for years may understand that killing a person results in legal punishment, but they may not realize that killing an animal leads to negative karmic consequences. Even worse, some may feel indifferent when killing animals or insects with their own hands. It is our responsibility to help them correct these misguided beliefs. Many of you may feel that you do not have such a fault because you have never engaged in killing. In reality, you may simply be unaware of the killings you commit. If you examine your life closely, you will realize you have committed many acts of killing and have taken away the precious lives of many beings, both intentionally and unintentionally. As you know, killing is the gravest negative action, as life is the most precious things in the world. And here is a story from the treatise on the great perfections of wisdom. A man searched for treasures in the ocean. His ship was wrecked, and all his treasures fell into the sea. Fortunately, he was unharmed. He returned and joyfully announced, "I nearly lost a valuable treasures." People laughed at him, saying, "You lost all your treasures in the ocean, and nothing remains. Why do you say I nearly lost a valuable treasure?" He replied, "Among all treasures, human life is the most important. People seek treasures to support their lives, not the other way around. Life is the most precious things in the world. All sentient beings, including insects, view this the same way humans do. And while beings vary in size, their experiences of happiness and pain are similar. Adults and young children suffer when killed, just as insects do. Despite their small size, insects also experience significant pain when they are killed. Therefore, experiencing suffering when killed is the same for everyone. Regardless of nationality, ethnicity, skin color, species, and more, all sentient beings in this world experience fear when faced with being killed, except for noble beings who have attained the ultimate state of realization. All beings, regardless of size, inherently desire life and fear death. Those who disregard the lives of other beings should be condemned. The anger of a person who takes life frightens all beings. The treatise on the great perfections of wisdom says, "Those who enjoy killing are disliked by all living beings. Those who dislike killing are welcomed happily by all beings. If a butcher who takes life stays in your house, it is very likely that you will fear he may murder you in the middle of the night for money. In contrast, a person who aspires to benefit all beings will naturally possess a kind demeanor, making people happy to stay with him. Therefore, everyone should cultivate compassion for all sentient beings."
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So, any thoughts about all this?
I wonder, do you think that ants, they realize that they need to keep away from being killed? Do they realize, do they fear for losing their life? Do they?
I don't know if you have this problem. I mean, we call it a problem because from a human perspective, it's a problem. But if you have ants in your house,
Yes, I have. Well, sometimes.
Okay. So then it can be a big hassle for us because we're not supposed to kill any beings. So what I do, I will gently put them on my hand or put a glass on top of them. They just climb the glass, then I take it and then send them outside of the house. So when you have sometimes 100, 200, 300 more ants in the house, you have to do that for each of them. And then sometimes you see that some of the ants, they're not like the others. Because I've observed a lot of ants in the last couple of years. And I see that some of them hide. I see that some of the ants actually look at me And then
Really?
when I arrive, and then when I arrive close to them, they will go hide under a small appliance, like a toaster or something that I have on the counter. And then I have to remove that and then grab the ants and take it out. Others don't necessarily.
You have built a relationship with them.
Well, yeah, they're not very happy that I take them out of what they see as their environment, because obviously we create an artificial environment, but they live in life. They don't care about what has created this environment. So I can definitely, and with great confidence say that a lot of them fear us. And as soon as you have fear, it is a great indication that you fear. What do you fear? You fear for yourself, huh? Mm-hmm. So if you fear for yourself, you fear for your life. So maybe not all ants have this level of presence, but they do. Or even if you take them in their natural habitats, in their ant nest, when there's how to call it, a predator that comes, like I don't know, what's going on with my English today. Wasps. I was thinking of bees, but I wanted to say wasp. When a wasp arrives, then they will come and they will charge, and then they will defend their nest and defend. So you see that there's a sense of preservation that is extremely strong among even those small animals. So they definitely have certain fears that maybe are programmed, but that still manifest and that are still activated. So they don't want to die. They don't want their queen to die.
Yeah.
So that would be my my answer to this. And then we could maybe talk to people who study animal behavior and insects, and then they will probably give us even more details, explanation of how they have a deep level of consciousness of life and fear of death that is present in even the smallest of those animals. Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's interesting.
Sally.
And another thing is this is very easy to observe. If you see if you enter around, you just disturb it. You just flap a paper or something. They all run away.
Oh yeah.
So they know how to protect. They just run away. I mean, a big group, they just so fast, just appear nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know that it's alert. So they know this how to save their life. And this is not just for all animals. If you disturb them, they just run away. So I think they know they are fearful. Yeah.
Yeah. Or even you just between two ants, because this is something that I noticed in Thailand as well, where I was in temples. Like you would have like a large procession of ants, like hundreds of ants walking one after the other, and you can just put your finger and then scratch the floor in between ants, and then because they leave a scent, they follow scent to follow their trail, and then if you do that, you rub the soil, the ground, they lose that connection with the scent, and then they become completely distressed. So obviously it's not something that you do too often. I just did it once because I was curious, and you could see that the ant was completely lost and completely distressed and felt disconnected. So they have definitely a lot of experiences that they go through that we would call emotions, but that they had the experience in a different way. Yes, Nemo or Ifesha.
Yeah, I also want to remind. Excuse me, are you done? Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I also like to remind everybody. We discussed this last week. Campbell taught us that we could recite a little verse every morning.
Yes.
Every living being protected yours. So today, if I heard you intentionally, may you be reborn in the pure land right away. So I think this is not that we are going to intentionally kill them, but ants are so small, you don't see them or other animals. So we recite this in the morning. I think that would be, in a way of protecting them and protecting ourselves too.
Good. Thank you. Yes, Nim or Ifesha.
It's me. I was just going to comment on that last verse that's highlighted. The anger of a person takes lives, frightens all beings. And I mean, I'm not afraid of people who take life. I have compassion for them and I pity them, but I'm not fearful. But what I recognize from this is that every time I have taken a life, I mean, ants or wasps or snails eating my stuff, caterpillars eating all my vegetables in my garden, there's always a degree of anger, even mild states of anger. Sometimes I'm just annoyed or irritated that they're eating the stuff I've planted, but there's always a degree of anger. So when I read this, it just struck me that it does take some level of emotional turmoil for somebody to take life, even if they're doing it as a profession. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, if you're doing this as a profession, maybe you're numb. There's no anger. It's new. I guess I'm just thinking out loud. Would it be neutral in that case? Would there not be any anger because it's a profession like a butcher, like you're doing it to earn a living? So you're not emotionally wrapped up in it that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Maybe give you another example. Like a couple of years ago, I went someplace far away for a retreat, and then we visited some people from the retreat visited a local person who was a friend of one of the person who was at the retreat, and that local person lives in the nature. It's a beautiful environment. You arrive there, it feels like all very peaceful, and then you see that the person has geese at home. Many geese, a flock of, I don't know, maybe a dozen geese. And then I've never been in close encounter with a goose before. I've seen ducks and, other, but a goose was the first time. And eventually I realized that I cannot get close to a goose because geese in general, they're actually very aggressive. And then they even have small teeth. So if they bite you, it hurts. So they are intimidating, and they're big, and they're an intimidating animal. And I stayed away, and then I actually, my daughter was, one of my daughters was there, and I said, no, you not go get close. I became a little bit protective. And then the owner of the place eventually saw that some people were a little bit unsettled by this, and then he came. And just his presence, when he got close, all the geese flee. All the geese were scared of him. And then this guy was looking at them, and you could see from his eyes that he was seeing meat when he was looking at them. It frightened me when I saw this. I got really disturbed to see the energy that he was giving to these animals were aggressive, and they're like almost fearless animals. And then just his presence was enough to instill fear among these. So I thought that was, wow, something that I never forgot after so many years. I can still see his face. It's still deeply ingrained in my memory. So I think that this can be an example of what it represents. But obviously, seeing a butcher, you might not have this feeling in general. But this is quite something. Or another time I was in Hong Kong, and then I went to a place where they were selling a lot of animals. And one of the person was selling turtles for, I guess, for making soup. And then that person was, he was a butcher. And he was like a little bit like, I would say, stereotypical person. Like he was short, he was not wearing a top, but he was a little bit old, but at the same time super muscular. He looked like a person who was probably practicing kung fu at night or in the weekend. And he was holding a big butcher knife, like very big and thick butcher knife. And then he was wearing these big rubber boots, black rubber boots. I can still remember very, very vividly. And then people would come and then ask for turtles or turtles, I don't know which one. And he would just grab one from a container, put on the table, turn it around, and boom, with his butcher knife, poof, and kill it, and then make it into pieces. And then put in a plastic bag and give it to people so that they would go do whatever they wanted. Like this is maybe make some soup or something. And I stayed there for a little while. I was observing him aghast. Like I was just, what's going on? This was my first experience of something like this. I was staying a little bit afar, looking at him. And then he looked at me at some point and just looked at me and started laughing very loudly. and then he kept on doing his stuff afterwards. So that was another example of something that was to me a deeply disturbing scene.
Yeah.
To see something like this, and at that time I was not interested in Buddhism yet. I was just visiting Hong Kong for the first time, which was such an amazing experience. But that particular moment was a frightful moment to me. Like I still have the chills when talking about this.
Yeah.
Yes.
I resonate with you. When I was little, my grandmother, well, I mean, a few times a year, she would slaughter a hen for food offering to deities. Well, I'm not talking about the Buddhist deities. A few times a year she would do that. She slaughtered chickens in front of me and sliced, slashed the once across the neck, and then sort of let the chicken bled to death. I mean, when I was little, I think that was normal because it's usual. We saw her did that all the time. And now, actually, every morning I pray for her, when I'm doing offering and praying to Guru Rinpoche, and I'll pray for her every morning just to dedicate all merits to her and call out her name because I remember what she did. Then, uh, and when I was little, I thought that was normal. But after I came to England and I was talking to my cousin, and she told me over here in England, they need to protect it's animal protections laws or RSPCA or something like that. And they said chickens in the slaughterhouse, they need to be, the electric, they need to pass through electrics just to numb them before they were slaughtered. This is the part that, so this is the first process before they send to the slaughterhouse. So I was surprised because back in Hong Kong, people slaughter animals just like that with the knife, chop them off.
Yeah. This is called like humane. It's called like humane killing.
Yes. Well, that was the first time when I thought they have an additional process before they send to the slaughterhouse. Yeah, that was an experience. So I mean, since then I have developed a different views or different broad different views on this whole things.
Different
so
in what
totally
sense?
Different worlds. Yeah.
Different in one sense. In what sense?
Difference in as I realized, I start to pay more attention on animal lives. I mean, when I was little, my father never allowed me to keep a dog because he said they are filthy. Well, I know, I shouldn't talk about this, but then, I mean, this is what I was taught when I was little, and they, uh, uh, we never kept large animals because I was told they are filthy. They were filthy, and so the way I developed the sense is totally different. The experience. So all I'm saying, I'm not because I. So the way we see animal life is totally different over there compared to the people's uh, the the way I see animals over here. So I develop a total different sense of uh, passions or compassions for lives other than humans
I see.
after I come over here. So it's
great.
two worlds.
Okay, thank you. Well, then, would you mind, since you're talking, would you mind reading the next section, actually?
You mean me?
Yeah.
I just finished. Right, okay.
I know, but okay, yeah. You just read. No, sorry.
I just read, yeah.
You're reading. Yeah. Sorry, it's just. I will give you a break. Actually, yeah. Thank you. Let's see. Maybe Chris has read. You've read. Three. Julian, you have not read. I'm just a bit confused.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, good. Okay, yeah, good. Let's go.
Children take lives too. Children often cause the deaths of countless animals while playing, whether they are aware of it or not. For example, in the summer, they may unknowingly kill many insects simply by striking the ground with a willow branch or a leather whip as they walk. Except for those whose Mahayanist disposition has already developed in childhood, most children have killed frogs, tadpoles, dragonflies, butterflies, earthworms, ants, and more. However, in today's densely populated cities filled with skyscrapers, children primarily encounter concrete buildings and school playgrounds. They have fewer opportunities to experience nature's greenery, resulting in fewer chances to harm insects. Nevertheless, if a child lacks inherent or learned kindness and compassion, they may harm small birds, chicks, or rabbits in their youth and eventually harm larger animals like cattle, horses, lions, or elephants as they grow older. Moreover, if they become scientists, they may develop atomic bombs and other nuclear weapons, leading to the destruction of countless lives. Children should be taught about compassion. They need to learn not to harm others, and if they do, there should be consequences. Many school teachers who are present here today for today's teaching told me that they would slap a student's palm if they do not turn in their homework on time. While this might be effective, it should also apply if a student takes the life of a living being. In addition to discipline, the students should receive Dharma teachings so they understand from a young age that all living beings value their lives just as humans do. Through these teachings, young people can develop compassion over time. Last year, on June 1st, International Children's Day, I invited many children and their parents to participate in various activities rooted in Mahayana Buddhism. These activities included saving animals, chanting prayers, prostrating, offering lamps, singing Buddhist songs, and engaging in Buddhist dances. Such activities can help children cultivate values of compassion, loving kindness, and animal protection. With this year's Children's Day just a month away, I strongly suggest organizing these activities in various locations so that the seeds of compassion and loving kindness can be sown in the hearts of children. This is more important than anything else in their lives. Generally speaking, the experiences we have during primary and secondary school are the most likely to stay in our memories. When we look back, we can vividly recall experiences from those years, while most of what happened afterward has already faded from memory. In fact, it is the responsibility of every Dharma practitioner to care for the children around us, as their fate is closely connected with ours. It is never too late to guide them toward the right path. If you take action, even a seemingly small effort or simple act can have significant impact on a child's life and on the lives of many others in the future. The key to instilling the essence of wisdom in both adults and children is in our hands. I hope we can all vow to care for those around us, especially children. If a child receives education and compassion, he will surely have a bright future. On the other hand, if he grows up following negative intentions and dispositions, his whole life may be ruined. Some children suddenly develop incurable diseases. Some become disabled or even die. These occurrences are the karmic consequences of their actions related to killing in this life and past lives. If parents want their children to contribute to societal development, they should instill good values in their minds early on. Otherwise, it is difficult to predict what the children will become as they grow up. As Mahayanists, we do not live in isolation, detached from social interactions. Therefore, we must care for those around us. We should not solely focus on concerns like what to eat or how to sleep. if we only think about ourselves and lack an altruistic mindset, we are not true Mahayanists.
Thank you. Any reactions or observations about this?
I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with Kempo here that I think the most important thing is to give our children education and do our best to instill positive values, and compassion is, I agree, is one of the most important things. And you see so many things in media today, and obviously my mind went to thinking about, like, obviously there are so many young people and even children who end up actually committing quite harmful, quite significant crimes, and it's all about educate or lack of education, really, lack of support, and it's quite sad to see these things. And I think that if we do, I mean, bear in mind that I don't have children myself, but I think compassion is, if you can instill compassion and you can teach child to be compassionate, then I think everything else positive will fall in the right place. And there's not much else. I would think there's not much else that there's not much effort that you need to put in once that's done. But yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, some kids definitely have Mahayanist disposition. So basically, they are carrying over some effects of previous lives, and then they look at animals and already want to cherish them and protect them, while others are very indifferent to animals and even they're sadistic, even will like to take a small insect and pull out a leg and see the effect and things like that. So indeed, not every kid have this inclination, and then they need to be taught about this. But if the parents don't even care about insects, then the children will not learn to respect them unless they have Mahayanist dispositions. But yes, indeed, it's important, the education part. But parents have to be educated. But sometimes it's the kids who educate the parents as well. Yeah, Maxime.
You know what? Sorry, Maxime, you've got something to say. I think, you're in front of the queue.
Yeah.
Can you hear the sound well? Yes.
Yes.
I have an example, because when I worked in the garden with my relatives, we collected bugs from potato plants, and then I collected a big bowl of these bugs, and my relatives told me to kill them, just go and kill them, because usually grown-ups deliver small things, as they think, to kids. And then I ran to another garden and threw them there, and then I had to lie about it, because that I killed them. So, and even now I can remember several insects, bugs, and frogs that I eventually killed, and pray for them. So yeah, that's why relatives, grown-ups, should be taught to how to teach compassion to kids.
Yeah, well, as you just said as well, they have to have compassion themselves. If they don't see animals as living beings that we need to cherish, then they won't teach their kids. Indeed, yeah. Thank you, Sally.
Yes, I rejoice in Maxime's natural propensity. But as a Kim, I grew up, when I grew up in Taiwan, and that just, I remember I helped my aunts hold a chicken to be, cut their necks and so forth, and just took these things for granted. It never occurred to me, or never people taught me that killing is not right. And then when I came to the United States as a graduate school, as a teaching assistant in biochemistry, and we have to harvest the liver enzymes. So, I'm really, really sorry. Now I think about that, it give me a goosebumps. I murdered so many rats and so forth. So, although teacher taught us what just about to regret and so forth. But I sometimes feel my hands like feel the blood, just so horrible. So I think also another dilemma is, I mean, I'm lucky to encounter Buddhism, but I became a vegetarian like 20 some years ago. But it's not even Buddhism. It's just because I practice Qigong, automatically I become detached to meat eating. And then because I practice Qigong, I had making mudras very much like Buddhist mudras. That's why I got interested in Buddhism. Anyway, that's my past. Anyway, another question raised is, what about the biological scientists? We need animal models, and killing is inevitably involved in there. So not everybody is as lucky as me that, I know how to, there is a way to repent and so forth. But what will be the answer to this kind of, maybe it involved the life, right, the livelihood, as Kim Nim and Yefisha mentioned yesterday. But if one is that profession, that seems unavoidable. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think I have an answer for this, but I still remember the story of the Buddha who was guiding one of his disciples who was a butcher. You remember this probably, yeah? And then basically he told his disciple that you need to take a vow of never taking a life after your business hours. And then I know that the story of this disciple is quite an extreme story. During the daytime they would go to hell, and at nighttime he would end up in some sort of heaven or something like that. So I guess even the Buddha recognized that for some people it is difficult or impossible to not to commit wrong actions. So. But then, yeah, indeed, the question arises, like, should we completely stop entirely? It's a very deep question, actually, and complex question. Should we stop entirely having biologists do their job and then ultimately coming with solutions to saving lives because they are involved in the process of killing animals? So it's, I don't have an answer for this personally. Yeah, that's a very good question. Kim?
Yeah, it's about when I was when I when I was younger, I come across people, in our eastern part of the world that seeing Buddhism, it's a laughing stock. The thing is, the way they administer the lifestyle, the way they uh, the way of life of a Buddhist, it's some kind of a joke to some. I mean, that was how I feel back in those days, because not eating meat is can be a joke, but for some people, not because everybody eat meat over there and it's normal, and food offering, killing animals, using animal as a scientific specimen is something really normal, and and all sort of things like killing. It's just back in those days, it's a joke to be a Buddhist. People sometimes laugh at the ideas, the concepts in Buddhism. But nowadays, since I start studying the concept, I just think it is actually a profound concept. And I think the democracy and the Western lifestyle concept, and including democracy, I think some of the elements actually lined up with the Buddhism concept. So Buddhism is actually, in fact, it's very as a modern concept rather than a laughing stock, and
Yeah.
and it's just people being ignorant, that's ignorant enough to to laugh at this concept. In fact, Buddhism is way more advanced thinking and advanced concept that most people back in those, I mean, back in those days, or back where I lived, is just they it's just ignorant. Can I put it this way? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of in the West, most people are not even exposed to Buddhism. Like, and maybe the image they have of Buddhism is the Dalai Lama. That's some, or maybe 7 years in Tibet if they're lucky and then they've watched that movie, for example. But for most people, we live in a Abrahamic rooted cultural society. We hear about Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And then it's very strange to think of Hinduism and Buddhism and other forms like Jainism, for example. It's very strange for them. So for many people, it's indeed a matter of laughing stock because it looks strange. Or they will have seen maybe monks, the procession of monks going from the south to Washington a couple of months ago, but they look at them and they look strange in a way. Strange in a sense of different from what is normal in that sense. So it can trigger lots of weird thoughts and emotions in people because we're used to what is normal. Everything is normalized through culture and indoctrination that we receive from parents and school. So it is, in a way, it is normal that people behave this way. It is very sad, but it is normal that people behave this way. But yes, I completely agree with you that when you start digging into Buddhism, you start really studying the concepts and the theories and practicing and visualizing and doing all the mind training, you see how powerful and how connected with our practical lives Buddhism is. Indeed, yeah. Thank you, Kim. Okay, maybe we keep moving. We need to, yes, maybe quickly because we need to move on.
Okay, perhaps we carry on reading then.
Okay, thank you. Sanu.
Yeah, sure. Taking animal lives. Many people, in fact, spend their entire lives taking life, like orgies. Some individuals living in big cities are no different from hunters and butchers. Why is that? It is because they consume many animals in their daily meals. People living near the sea especially kill numerous sentient beings for each meal. These individuals can be even more ferocious than a hunter who only occasionally kills an animal. Regarding the killing of animals, Patrul Rinpoche exclaims, indeed, when we reflect on how we slaughter cattle to feast on their flesh and blood, despite the fact that they have spent their entire lives serving us and nourishing us with their milk like a mother, we appear more monstrous than any organ. Okay. Here is a well-known story from Tibet that explains why humans are worse than any organ. Once there was a thief who hid in the forest while being pursued. He planned to steal and slaughter a yak from a nearby herdsman at night. Driven by his negative karma, he encountered a Mara. During their conversation, the thief learned that the Mara intended to kill a yak. So he said to the Mara, Since you are Mara, you must be powerful and capable. You go and kill a yak. I will boil water for you here. The Mara then left. At dawn, the Mara returned empty-handed. Is everything ready? The thief asked. Yes, the Mara answered. Then where is the beef? Not yet, said the Mara. I just inserted a piece of sawdust into the yak's hoof, which will soon start to fester. When it festers, it will become infected, and the yak will soon die. That is too slow, complained the thief. If I do not want to wait that long, why don't I go and you wait for me? The thief then stole a yak and slaughtered it immediately. Soon he carried the bloody beef back to the forest. The Mara was surprised and said, That was so fast. Are you a Mara who is more ferocious than I am? The Mara dared not eat the beef and ran away. This shows that sometimes humans are more terrifying than Maras. When a Mara kills living beings, it considers the time and conditions. Only when the causes and conditions ripen will the Mara initiate pandemics or create natural disasters to gradually reach its goal. In contrast, when a human wants to kill a living being, they can do so on the spot and eat it right away. One can witness such horrifying scenes in restaurants. Such humans have no compassion. All they care about is satisfying their appetites. In this regard, humans are indeed worse than Maras. Thank you.
Thank you. Any reaction to this?
Yup. In the first part, uh, it is said that some human beings are like worse than people who just hunt. Especially like even in East Asia, many people are living near the sea, and like in the evening time, they will go and eat all the kinds of seafood. Now, earlier it was uh they were poorer, but nowadays, I'm just giving an example. The East Asian countries are becoming richer and richer, so they can eat more meat, while like for example the hunters in the remote regions, they just kill once a week or like 3 times at most for their need. But the modern people, they are said to be worse than these hunters because they can order all kinds of meat and uh, just eat it. They, even if it's not required to kill, they still want it. The hunter maybe needs to feed his family, but these modern people, they can easily get access to vegetarian food. Still, they want to relish their appetite with all the kinds of meat. And in the next part also, the same thing is showed with the Mara and this thief. They're similar. The Mara is like the hunter, and the thief is like the today's modern people. So yeah, that's all. And also Mara is also a heavenly being, so he relishes they relish when others suffers, but some humans are even said to be worse than Maras because they just want immediate results. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It is indeed quite a story, this one, about the thief and the Mara. Like we imagine Maras as demons, like ferocious and fearful and ugly and something like this, like in zombie movies or whatever that we can see in the West. But here, the Mara is depicted almost as a natural condition for death to unfold. It's a little bit like the way it is presented here. And even when it is said here, yeah, only when the causes and conditions ripen will the Mara initiate pandemics or create natural disaster to gradually reach its goal. So it's more like if we're talking about natural occurrences in society, but humans indeed with our power and our domination over other beings and over the elements, and with technology we can accomplish much more maybe than what Mara, who is part of the natural reality of life and death, will do. So it's indeed quite preoccupying to think of humans this way. Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay, now maybe we can move to the next section. Maxim.
The four elements for completing the act of killing animals. Taking a life is considered complete as a negative action when all four elements are present. As a result, the killer must experience the full karmic consequences of killing. This concept is emphasized in the teachings of Vinaya, as well as in my recent teaching on the aspiration to be reborn in the pure realm of Sukhavati. Many people are unsure whether they have completed an act of taking life, so let's elaborate on this. What are the four elements of killing? Consider the example of a hunter killing a wild animal. First, he clearly sees and identifies the animal, whether it is a stag, musk deer, or another creature, fully recognizing it as a living being. This awareness forms the basis for the act. Next, the desire to kill arises within him, and the idea of killing the animal is the intention to take its life. Then he carries out the action by striking a vital point of the animal with a weapon, such as a gun or a bow, an arrow. This represents the physical execution of the act. Finally, the animal's vital functions cease, and the conjunction of his body and mind is severed, marking the final completion of the act of taking a life. The act of killing is complete when it encompasses all four aforementioned elements of a negative action.
Okay, I think I will, maybe we can keep on reading because this was pretty short, so you could maybe read this section too.
When lamas teach how to kill animals. In the Tibetan region, cattle and sheep were previously killed by strangulation. This method inflicts excruciating pain on the animal and takes approximately 10 minutes to end its life. In comparison, cutting the throat of an animal takes about 3 to 4 minutes, while electrocution takes 2 minutes. Electrocution is also a method used to execute criminals. Therefore, if one must kill a living being, it is crucial to minimize its suffering by carrying out the killing as swiftly as possible. The great Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche also mentioned in class a story about Lama Weser of Dawo County, who possesses a strong sense of compassion. While pursuing his Dharma studies at Dzogchen Monastery, Lama Weser overheard a local method of slaughtering yaks by stabbing a specific vein in a yak's back. The animal would collapse and die instantly. He returned to his hometown and advised the villagers, "If you must kill yaks, consider using this technique." Later, someone slandered him, stating, "This Lama left his hometown to study Dharma, but instead of focusing on learning the Buddhist teachings, he learned how to kill yaks. Something he should not have learned. What is even worse is that he brought this technique of slaughtering yaks back to his hometown." In response to this, the great Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche commented, "Even though a great bodhisattva teaches others how to slaughter yaks, which may have a direct or indirect karmic impact on oneself, what he does can alleviate the suffering of those living beings. In many slaughterhouses, cattle are killed in extremely cruel ways, as those who watched the documentary The Journey of Compassion know that the yak's eyes are still rolling and its muscles are still quivering when the butcher cuts open its throat or even after decapitating it. The process of ceasing to breathe is very painful for the yak. Sometimes I wonder, with advancements in science and technology, should electric shock be used by butchers when killing yaks to minimize their suffering? As we all know, the pain of sickness is incomparable to the agony of death. However, we struggle to endure even the suffering caused by illness, let alone that of death. Therefore, when we encounter these pitiable living creatures, we should not only think about ourselves, but also consider their well-being. As the sheep is strangled by a rope, its breath ceases. Its wide eyes take on a bluish hue and grow cloudy, with tears streaming down. What a brutal and agonizing death. Its lifeless body is then dragged into the house, marking the final stage, the completion of ending its life. In an instant, the sheep is skinned with a knife, its flesh still trembling because the all-pervading energy has not yet fully departed from its body, making it appear as though it were still alive. Without delay, it is roasted over a fire or cooked on a stove and then consumed. Reflecting on this, such animals are almost eaten while still alive, making humans no different from predatory beasts. In the past, Tibetans engaged in a horrifying practice in which an animal's flesh was cut off piece by piece, and cooked for food before it stopped breathing. However, in many parts of the world, conditions are far worse. The torture animals endure while alive is even more severe than the act of killing itself. As we all know, foie gras is a specialty French food product made from the liver of a duck or goose. Foie gras, caviar, and truffles are considered three delicacies in the haute cuisine of the Western world. To obtain foie gras ducks or geese, force-fed 2 or 3 times a day through a metal tube, resulting in large deposits of fat and in their livers. This process can enlarge their liver of the unfortunate birds to 10 times its normal volume. Force feeding inflicts significant suffering on ducks and geese. To produce this delicacy, people deliberately fatten the birds in a cruel manner, showing little regard for their welfare. A similar cruelty is evident in the production of KFC's chicken drumsticks. I have heard that these chickens are raised in large warehouses under highly uncomfortable living conditions. The chickens endure a distressing existence, and consuming such chickens can pose a considerably higher risk to our health. The presence of numerous incurable and peculiar diseases is likely a consequence of these human practices.
Thank you. It was a bit long. Sorry about that, but I think we covered good ground. So how do you feel about all this?
I know several Buddhists from Mongolian regions, and they try to ease the suffering of animals because they have culture of eating meat because they live in such environments. But for example, our nearby regions, I saw people would like to try something specific like foie gras, some specialties, delicacies, and it's really strange even for my friends from Mongolian regions. And as I remember, we spoke about these 4 parts of completion in previous session, and I remember that Sally told that to complete these 4 parts, you have to enjoy meat. Was it right?
Well, you see the second one, huh? The desire to kill. The desire to kill has to be there. So it's motivation, because when you desire to kill, it means that you probably project yourself at the table, eating the meat that will be the result of the killing, the process, and the transformation and the processing of the meat, and all of this. So definitely, that's an important aspect of it, and also the identification as well. Identifying again. I got something here that I put up. Let's where is it? Okay, here. Yeah, this. We are jumping a little bit to our. Okay, so yeah, the object, the intention, the action, and the result. And so you target. I like this image. you target the object, that the animal that will be killed, and then there's the intention that is very important, and definitely it comes from affliction. Killing can be out of anger, but in the case that we're talking about here, is more about the desire to eat the meat. So this is definitely an element that is very important. And then you engage in the act of killing, and then you get to completion. So that these are the four that should be present for maximum karmic impact, basically. Yeah. I don't know if you had another question or point you wanted to discuss about this, Maxim.
No, understood. Thank you.
Okay. And we'll come to the idea later of what happens when you don't have, for example, when you don't engage in the third and the fourth, like you don't kill yourself. So this is going to be discussed shortly. Okay. I was also curious to see how you felt about this section when the Lama instructs people on how to kill. So either Maxim or anybody else. Yes, Maxim?
As I mentioned, it is really common in Mongolian region because they try to use the suffering of animals in any using any tools, anything. I cannot condemn them.
Yeah.
Because they do not have any other option. They do not have fertile land. So I don't know what to say about
that's good already, indeed, because we're talking about situation where people, in a way, they rely on meat to survive, because there are different conditions that we discuss. Like in some cases you have to, because maybe you're living on high plateau and then nothing grows, so meat has been part of the diet of people for as long as people have been living in those lands. But when we live in a place where we have access to plant-based diets, then this is a different situation. Or when our health does not prevent us, because sometimes the health of people can require specific diets. Where, if I remember, even the Dalai Lama was told by his doctors that he has to eat meat. I don't know if it's still the case, but I know that at certain time he had to. So sometimes it can be necessity to do so. But yeah.
Excuse me, I think
yes.
this Lama's teaching is the same thing as we discussed earlier. The mercy killing. Not a group, a long process and so forth. And also, I think a Dharma practitioner, when they must eat meat, they can always make aspiration. We have made a connection. Even this connection is not quote unquote a good one. Maybe it's a bad connection, but I appreciate that you provide me the meat. After eating the meat, I could my body becomes stronger so I can benefit beings and also dedicate whatever merit to the animal they eaten. So I think that's probably a sort of middle way compromise, whatever we can do in a situation, we can't do anything. Thank you.
Yeah. Maybe, Sally, thank you so much. Maybe it's coming back to your question about biologists as well. Maybe that's the answer to exactly the same answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes,
I
Kim.
remember that eating. I know we've been talking about being a Buddha. Where we can accumulate lots of good merits for not eating meat. But I remember I read it somewhere that to be bothered by the ideas of eating meat or not eating meat is just as bad as eating meat, just to determine to eat meat. So just not to allow the mind to be bothered by the idea of, collecting accumulating bad karma because of eating meat. So what I'm saying is that it's not to be troubled by the concept of the dualistic thinking of eating or not eating. So it's just yeah, I remember. Yeah, I think we need to work out which way is better. To wave up which one is more important. So I
Yeah,
think
it's a good point.
It doesn't matter. I think
It's not necessarily that maybe one is worse than the other. It really depends on the context. But a person could decide to take the precept of not killing and then decide never to kill and never to eat meat, but indeed still have a strong afflictions when seeing meat on the table. Like, for example, there are vegetarians or vegans that I know who would not even sit at a table if there's meat served at the table. So this is one thing. So, but it's two different things in a way, because if I say, oh, I don't have any aversion towards eating meat or not eating meat, and then I eat meat, it's not necessarily better. So you can think of it in terms of steps. The first step should be, for example, to take the precepts of not killing animal and not killing and then not eating meat. And then the second, which is harder, is eventually to maybe get rid of the aversion of the dualism of eating and not eating, but still deciding not to eat meat at the same time because of the Mahayana view that you will have. And I think we even talked about that at some point in some rituals, some empowerments or some rituals where people will have to consume a little bit of meat. This is part of this mind training as well, where you should receive that little tiny piece of meat without any afflictions, without any dualistic thought of pure and impure, of good or bad in this specific context. But it is a very small portion of meat. It's not that, oh, now I don't care about that, so now I can start eating meat again, plenty. No, these are different things, yeah.
yes,
Yeah, excuse me.
Yeah.
I think this is we must be very, very careful here. We don't want to mix the two truths. Although in absolute truth, there's no distinction whether eating meat or not meat. But in the relative truth, the role of karma is always emphatic. You eat somebody's meat, you have to pay back with your meat. That's the role of karma. So only the highly realized beings, when it makes no difference, if they are a plate of feces, a plate of meat in between, he sees no difference. He could eat the same with the same equanimity. That's say I make no difference. I could eat meat. Okay, but as ordinary beings, we have always to remember separate these truths, absolute truth and relative truth, the world we are living in. We are still governed by the law of cause and effect. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, very good observation. Very good point. Yeah, thank you.
I think I just want to add that as Buddhists, most of us have the non-killing vow, so we don't eat meat. But we get so caught up as Buddhists into meat eating and veganism. And what we lose sight of is the fact that we kill more ants and rats and cockroaches than we'd ever kill a cow. Like, it's highly unlikely that one of us will go kill a cow or kill a fish or kill a chicken. But we walk on the ants, we try to take them out, but we still kill a few of them. And we don't, I find that we don't, or maybe I'm speaking for myself, I'm not as outraged about that. Like, I'll be sweeping and then I realize that, oh my God, I just swept some ants. And there's this level of, oh my God, I just swept some ants. But it's not like I'm dying. If I were to step on a chicken or kill it, then I would, it would be this outrage, like, oh my God, what did I do? So I think knowing that we have the altruistic motivation, we have the non-killing vow, we're not killing, we're not eating meat for the most part, most of us, I'm assuming, then we don't need to worry about it that much. Like, we can, I think we can focus more on the things that we're likely to kill and not worry as much about the things that we're not likely to kill. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed, that's a good point. Like, all vegetables that we eat are the source of a lot of suffering.
Because it's true. Yep.
When they're extracted from the ground, and then the machines that use this can kill so many other beings as well. Obviously, it's not the same as when we talk about eating meat from the restaurants, because the repercussions are not the same, because there are intentional killing involved. At least in the context of eating vegetables, everything is unintentional. Like, there's no one sitting on the
disagree.
machine.
I disagree. The people who harvest the wheat, they know they're killing the mice. They kill the mice intentionally because they want a good crop. They want a good crop. So, and that's what I'm saying. We sometimes lose sight of the fact that whatever we eat, there is some level of intentional killing.
That's a good point. Yeah.
On the fact that we need to pray over the stuff that we eat. We need to dedicate when we eat even the vegetables for every sentient being who's lost their lives in that process.
That's a good point. Actually, even when you use when they use insecticides, and this is intentional killing. You're right. Like, I was too quick saying this. I was thinking of the person who's sitting on the machine and then extracting the vegetables. Like, their job, they are not intentionally trying to kill beings, but there are other aspects of the job that requires indeed an intentional killing. Yeah. So it's a very good point to keep that in mind. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
another point is important. Excuse me.
Go, Sari.
Yeah. Okay. Of course, the things we live in this world is inevitable. Our living inevitably involve harming others. Yeah. Okay, so we discuss a lot eating meat and so forth. And sometimes meat eaters say, "Why are you so proud?" Because we're planting a garden and then using insecticides, you also get countless living beings in the soil. Okay, but here we have to be very careful, because the meat eater eating the cow, the cow, to raise the cow to have the meat ready for us to eat, they also need to eat grass and so forth. And there is a calculation that to eat one dish of meat takes about 25 times the earth killed or more animals, more energy to supply the meat. So actually meat eater also kill indirectly the insect in the ground 25 times more than vegetarians. So that is also something we consider, that meat eating is not only kill meat, also resources. Also, you also kill the animal, the creature underground, just as vegetarian. But vegetarian also do that, but they to a lesser degree. But that's inevitable.
Yeah, that's a very good point as well. Indeed, like even last week, we were also having a section that was talking about sheep, raising cattle and raising cows and sheep, and then by eating the grass, how many insects they consume, by shedding the sheep, how many bugs are killed in the process, and all these things. Indeed, yeah. Okay.
And these bugs are also in the water we drink every day. So we actually keep killing living creatures from time to time. But I think intention is the most important things here. As long as we are in with the samsara, we involved in the killing process all the time. So it is the intention itself. And also the ultimate truth is no birth, no birth, no death. So whatever die, whatever will, born will be reborn. So I just think it's yeah, the intention is the intentions of an individual of individuals, so matters most. Yeah, I think killing itself is it's just it's killing itself is the idea for is an idea. I mean, what I'm saying is ultimate truth is no birth, no death.
Yeah,
So
but as Sally said, at our level, talking about ultimate truth here is not necessarily the best. Because we need to focus on our actions, we need to focus on our mind, we need to focus on our intention. And then jumping to the absolute truth can lead to forgetting about the consequences of our actions. So it's just potentially a slippery slope. But indeed, in the absolute level, there's no, like there's the story of a Zen monk who was using Buddhist principles with archers to teach them how to kill. So he said, like, there is no archer, there is no arc, there is no arrow, there is no one being killed, so everything is fine. In a way, it doesn't work like this. There's still, karmically speaking, there's still someone who's pulling on the cord and then throwing the arrow and killing someone. So we have to be a little bit careful about these levels, but that's a good point. I just want to come back quickly to one thing. Like if we compare meat eating as well to eating vegetables, and we'll come back to this in a few minutes as well when we talk about what happens when the four elements are not present. But you are still, when you're eating meat, you're still eating the result of the killing. So the meat you have in your plate is something that has been killed and prepared for you. When you're eating vegetables, you're eating something that is not the result of the killing, but is that is involved in a network or in a process that has beings killed. So it's also a different thing. So we also can keep that in mind. So there might be intentional killings involved in the process of killing vegetables, but not always. There's lots of intentional killing because this is a third suffering, the all-pervasive suffering of composite phenomena. As I believe Sally said, because we live in the Saha world, the fact that we are alive and we kill beings by being alive, by dressing up, by eating, by having a house, by having transportation means we are involved in the suffering of other beings just by the fact that we are alive. So this is part of the reality as well. But it's not the same as choosing an object, having an intention, directly attempting at killing it, and then because of the desire, rejoicing in the killing. So these are different processes that are involved, but they all have karmic repercussions, but at different levels because of the intention, because of the four acts that we were talking about before. And then we'll cover this in a few minutes as well. We need to keep reading because I see the time is flying. This is such a wonderful conversation that we're having now. Okay, so let's keep reading. I see Paul. Paul, are you okay to read? Okay, maybe not. Then maybe Ifesha?
Yeah.
Thank you.
People often speak of world peace, but given the extent of cruelty toward animals, we know that this world can hardly be peaceful. Why is that? Because the fundamental cause of peace is great compassion. Without it, there can be no harmony among people, ethnic groups, and nations. Therefore, great compassion is essential for human livelihood. It is the source of peace and happiness for all living beings. The Flower Ornament Sutra states, loving kindness and compassion are vast, then peace and happiness will permeate all beings. No matter how eloquent a person's speech may be, without loving kindness and compassion, such eloquence cannot bring genuine good to oneself or others, in this life or in lives to come. The Mahapurusa Sutra also says, giving love and compassion in such a manner renders endless merits. Making offerings in such a subtle way brings peace and happiness to all beings. Therefore, we should all cultivate compassion, even if we're unable to observe all the other precepts. As Mahayanists, we should uphold the precept of non-killing and compassion. The sutra requested by Ananda states, if you do not abandon one dharma, you then uphold all supreme dharmas. What does not abandoning one dharma mean? It refers to not abandoning all sentient beings. Furthermore, we should frequently practice love and compassion. The Mahaparinivarna Sutra says, if one practices love and compassion day and night to all living beings, one will obtain long-lasting happiness because one does not annoy others. Therefore, as more compassionate people arise, this world will transform into a garden of happiness. Conversely, if there's no love, compassion, joy, and equanimity in people's hearts, no matter how advanced the external material world becomes, it does not necessarily benefit humanity. Worse yet, it may even lead to humanity's self-destruction. Not only does the peace of the world, nations, and ethnic groups depend on great compassion, but the peace of our communities and families does as well. Individuals who possess deep compassion naturally foster harmonious relationships with others. In contrast, those with selfish mindsets can never bring about peace in the world.
Thank you. I don't know, this is, I would say maybe a little bit self-evident, but I don't know if you have any quick observations about this.
It is self-evident.
Yeah.
If we don't have compassion, then we can't express it, and it takes collective compassion to have a peaceful world. So if everybody develops a little bit of compassion, that will go a long way. And we do live in a world where we see that people who don't have compassion create great disasters, and we see that one or two or small group of people can have such a huge impact on world destruction, which is a domino ripple effect of our actions. So not having compassion, having compassion, it makes a huge difference if one person, sometimes we just think one person or a small group can't, but we see in this day and age that a small core group of people can destroy the whole world or start destroying the whole world.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you. Yeah, compassion will lead us very far if we decide to apply it on this planet. Indeed. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's get to the last section before the conclusion. Maybe Christina?
Okay, thank you. What if not all four elements of killing are present? We have just studied the four elements required for the completion of the act of killing. Does this mean one can be exempt from the karmic effects of killing if all four elements are not fulfilled? The answer is no. Suppose you planned to kill an animal today, or you had the intention to do so, but ultimately did not carry out the act. In this case, two key elements, the basis and the intention of the negative action, could still be present. First, the awareness that the creature is a living being. And second, the deliberate intention is to taking its life. While the harm caused could be less severe than if the act has been fully executed, the stain of negative act, like a reflection in a mirror, could be nevertheless remain. Therefore, in our daily lives, we should avoid thinking or saying something like, I'm going to kill you, even in jest. During argument, some individuals may choose to shout, "I'll eat you if you continue to ignore this matter." However, this is important to notice that cannibalism, which refers to one person consume another, is extremely rare. When someone threatens another using such language, even if they do not genuinely intend to act upon it, they have already planted the negative karmic seeds of cannibalism in the mind stream, which is undesirable. Some people believe that only the individual who directly commits the act of killing accumulate negative karma, while one who merely gives the order remain unaffected, or if they do bear any karmic consequence is only minimum. Because this wrong view, when it's time to order a restaurant that serves living creatures like fish, some lay people will say, "I'm not going to order because I have taken refuge. You all can place the order. I like to eat and so fish." Such an action is quite concerning. However, be aware that everyone involved, even those who simply felt pleased about the act, will experience the same karmic consequences. This applying even more so to the individual who directly gave the order for the killing. According to the Theravada precept, soliciting others to kill carry the same karmic effect as killing by oneself. However, according to the Bodhisattva vow of Mahayana Buddhism, soliciting killing result in more negative karmic effect than the act of killing itself. Why is that? Killing with one's own hands bring karmic effect solely to the killer, whereas soliciting another killing karmic not only oneself but also the one person being solicited. Mahayana Buddhism emphasizes altruism, making such solicitation a great transgression. The sutra on deciding the effect of good and evil action state, if one's mind is kind, they will receive a positive karmic effect. If one's mind is evil, they will receive a negative karmic effect. The action a person take will lead to the corresponding effect on themselves. Therefore, all karmic effect are subjected to the mind, while speech and action are secondary. If you solicit other to kill, even you do not physically kill, but having generate the thought, you will experience the karmic consequence. All individuals involving in killing of the animal will fully experience the karmic consequence of that act. The act of killing a single animal cannot be divided among multiple people. Each participant bears the complete karmic result. For example, when 10 diners order a single large fish for the meal, the karmic effect is not divided by 10. Instead, each diner receive the full consequences of killing that fish. The treasure of Abhidharma also state in war, so forth. All of them have the same goal, and so all possess the karma, like the perpetrator. If an army of 100 soldiers kill a person, then every soldier receives the entire karmic result of that killing. This principle also applies to those who perform positive actions. Therefore, we must mindful not to take lives, as many karmic actions are interconnected, which quite alarming. Take KFC and McDonald's, for example. According to the statistic for 2009, there were over 30,000 McDonald's restaurants in 120 countries, including 1,065 in China. Every day, more than 50 million customers worldwide visit McDonald's. Simply, there are over 11,000 KFC restaurants in more than 80 countries, including 2,000 in China. The KFC slogan is looking good, while the McDonald's slogan is "I am loving it." This chain restaurant share the same objective in promoting meat consumption. If you dine at one of these chain restaurants, you become entangled in comic consequences of the killing carried out by all these restaurants worldwide. Do you dare to dine at one of the chain restaurants? You should definitely consider this. The two chain slaughter millions of living beings every day. McDonald's was established in 1940, and KFC is in 1952, over 60 years ago. How many living beings have been killed during such a length of period? The exact number is difficult to calculate. Jimmy Gawi and Patrul Rinpoche both state that anyone who owns a flock of 100 or more sheep can be assumed experiencing rebirth in hell. Therefore, we can conclude that the karmic consequences for the owner of this restaurant are extremely severe.
Okay, maybe do you mind just 2 more paragraphs? Or I can read them. Maybe I'll give you a break, and then we can comment briefly after.
I can. Therefore,
Okay, go ahead.
as human, we should reflect on this state of the world today. It's also crucial for us to contemplate our past actions that have caused harm to living beings. Just recently, a Dharma student confessed to me, saying, "I'm across the Buddhist story, and now I feel immense remorse for my past actions." It is not necessary to feel remorse solely for reading Buddhist story. However, if you have ever taken the life of a living being, then you should indeed feel deep remorse. Have you considered how do you might repay such karmic debts? In summary, the karmic consequences of taking lives are extremely severe. Therefore, we must repent for our negative actions and vow not to intentionally kill any living beings in this lifetime, even if it means to sacrificing our own lives. I hope that everyone in attendance at today's teaching will make this vow. With such a strong determination, the negative action of killing committed in the past will gradually purified.
Thank you. Wow, good reading, quick reading. Any thoughts or comments about this?
Yeah, when I read this, I feel like it's so scary for the restaurant. I mean, any restaurant, not only the McDonald's and KFC. If we go to the restaurant, we eat the meat, we are kind of carry all the karmic debts from that restaurant. So probably, I mean, it's better to cook at home, not try to do that because of that meal. We add a lot of karmic debts for us. This is one thing. Another thing is when Campbell in the last paragraph is urge us to to commit, make determination in our life. We're not going to killing living beings. Make this vow and for the repent of past, negative deed. Because everyone, go to the restaurant, even eat at home, and then early for myself in my early stage of my life, killing. I also not killed by hands, but also eat the live, animal, fish, before I encountered the Dharma. So that was the action we needed to take in. Thank you. That's all from me.
Yeah, indeed. I guess we've all been through, and then maybe some of us are still through this. But yes, indeed, it's very scary to see the repercussion and the collectively shared repercussions of killing animals. Yes, Kim?
When I read the part that those owners of large restaurants, they have what the karmic negative karma accumulated through a massive killing, and would be accumulated, would need to they're bought by those owners. And I'm just thinking, this is kind of ridiculous. I'm just thinking this is ridiculous because for people, they own a restaurant, like a Chinese restaurant or whatever restaurant, they kill the slaughter animal, they sell the meat to customers. These people, I would say they have the merits accumulated from previous life to be an owner of a business of that size, to have a life that's different from other people because of previous merit accumulated. And this life, they start massive killing to accumulate huge, massive negative karma because of the positive karma accumulated before this life. And I think this is kind of ridiculous, it's like a joke in this samsara. You know what I'm trying to say, and this is just unacceptable. I think to have so what should we do if we accumulated good karma? So we should dedicate all karma, positive merits to sentient beings and take a vow to get liberated, to be liberated in the future life. This is what we should do instead of, keep accumulating good merits for the next life to have the greatest life, and then the subsequent life to be extremely hell, living in hell because of the accumulated negative karma because of that particular life. You know what I'm trying to say? This is just it's a joke to me. If one so it's better to be a monk or a nun or in this life or to be a Buddhist, to not to accumulate any more positive, not to generate any more positive merits, but to dedicate merits, So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a kind of a big karmic joke on us, huh? That's the idea, to see how crazy things can be, and then people who accumulated enough merit to be successful in business because of other emotions, other afflictions, and other habitual tendencies. They've decided to dedicate these qualities to create a business that kills animals. Indeed, yeah. I find this part here interesting as well. Like, this principle applies also to those who perform positive actions. It means that we can also be like little ninjas and tricky and ask people to accomplish good actions for us. Not because we're focusing a lot on the negative side, but we can also ask people to do good things for us. And then they will reap the benefit, and then we will reap the benefit. So it's a good point to keep in mind. And also, indeed, like later in the Words of My Perfect Teacher, we'll talk about the motivations, the different aspirations that we can have. And then the lowest aspiration is not to suffer. Then we have the aspiration to enjoy a good life in the future. And there are more and more aspirations that leads to basically thinking of reaching enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So the broader or the scope of our motivation is, the more we are deeply anchored into Mahayana, and the more we harbor the Bodhisattva view, then the more likely all of these things that we're talking about will not come up from our own personal actions. Yeah. Okay. It's time we passed a little bit above because we have so interesting conversations. It's really nice. I want to see if there were some things that... I just wanted to quickly come back on these things before we go. Like, why is killing so the worst? And that why Kempo spends two sessions on this, because the other 10 actions he won't spend that much, but this he spent two sessions on this. Because remember from last week that every being cherishes their life deeply, and sentient beings cherish their own lives above all else and are willing to endure all sorts of pain to preserve their existence. Because we are supposed to harbor the view of the equality of life, so human life is not supposed to be better than other lives. life, each life sentient beings, the life of each sentient being is equally valuable. The only difference is that we humans can communicate through speech while other animals do not speak the language. And there are consequences of killing as well that are threatening, they're dreadful, as we saw today. So this basically why, and we're so entrenched in killing, so generally speaking, as a species. And we talk about loving compassion, and we need to remember that the importance of loving compassion, and that this is rooted in the four immeasurables. And the first two immeasurables: may all beings have happiness in the causes of happiness, which relates to love. And may all beings be freed from suffering and the causes of suffering, which relates to compassion. I just wanted to show you this as well, because there's a little discussion about wisdom, the importance of wisdom as well. And this is taken from a text from Jamgon Mipan Rinpoche, which is one of our dearest 19th century teacher. And then he talks about the 10 powers for a life of success and abundance. And this is in a text that is called The Way of Living. And then our Chinese Dharma brothers and sisters, when they go through the Chinese curriculum, this is one of the first texts that they study. So I don't know, probably Sally and Christina, you might have studied this text in the past. So just very quickly, here it's Jamgon Mipan says that all these qualities that we have are like a tree. And then the roots are wisdom and integrity, which basically give the strength and the foundation. Then the trunk is decency and mindfulness. And the branches are fairness and reliability. The leaves of the tree are gratitude and helpfulness. And then the flowers are faith and generosity. So if we can develop these 10 qualities, which Mipan Rinpoche explains very well in his teaching of the way of living, this is wonderful to have these in mind.
Can I ask why did he use the tree? Why tree?
Yeah, because this idea, like life is like a tree, and then what we do is like a tree. And that's the idea, basically.
What we do is like a tree.
Because it's all interconnected parts of the tree. So, and then the tree is a beautiful image to take these four. Like, we don't have time to look at all of them specifically, but thinking of the roots, the trunk, the branches, the leaves, and the flowers. And this is actually well explained in a book that just recently came out. So I will also maybe send you the reference to this book. It's called The Tibetan Book of Success.
Okay, it's funny. Thank you. Yeah, please forward the book title to me, please.
Yeah.
I went to a garden 2 days ago. It's a National Trust run by National Trust in the UK. I was there to touch the tree, just to touch trees there in the wilderness. I was thinking, what's the purpose of the trees, or touching the trees, or perhaps I need to absorb some of the energies from the soil and the trees there. So I was holding the trees. So when you bring this up in front of me, that's why I needed to know why he used the tree. Because I was talking to the tree the other day. I said, why are you so magical there? Is there any way I could, gain by just hugging the trees? So I feel actually so much better after I hug the trees. I feel that the heaviness or whatever burdens I have is gone completely after I was there with the tree. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Good. So yeah, I will send you the reference. This was just released. It's available for purchase just since a few days ago. This book, The Tibetan Book of Success, which combines teachings from Mipan Rinpoche, from Patrul Rinpoche, from Sakya Mipan, and also an older Chinese teaching, which is quite nice. Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me. I remember there was a psychologist. What's the name of the psychologist? It's a very famous one. People ask him about how to live the life to the full, and I think he used a tree seeds or whatever. He said the life, a fruitful life encompassed in this one very tree. That's what he said. So now they're talking about trees again. But anyway, yes, I'm interested to know about the tree story.
Okay, good. I think I'm pretty much talked about this. I will send you the link as well. We won't watch it here, but this is something because we're running out of time. But this is a video that shows how birds are killed in the slaughterhouse, how chicken are killed in a slaughterhouse. I watched a video this morning. It's about like 8 minutes. And this is from Australia, but it's happening everywhere in the world. So it's not just in Australia. And then they show how chicken are electrified, electrocuted or something, you know what I mean, or killed by gas in gas chambers. And then I was crying pretty much the whole video. It's something when you see it happening, and then when you see how it's supposed to be humane, but how many birds are processed very, very quickly in an hour. And now some of them endure some unimaginable suffering because they don't follow the process that they're supposed to go through the way they're supposed to be. So, having this in mind is, I believe, important. And then we won't answer the question, but if you still, I don't know, if you still consume meat in a situation where you could stop consuming meat, how do you feel about consuming meat after reading this section of the text? So you can think about it. Like if you're not in a place where if you're in a place where a plant-based diet is available, and if your health allows you to eat a plant-based diet, but you still eat meat, that's all of these things that we're talking about today should hopefully bring a lot of questions and stir a lot of thoughts in your mind. Okay, so let's do the dedication. Sorry again, it took longer than expected, but once again, this was a wonderful conversation. But just as the warrior Manjushri attained omniscience and Samantabhadra too, all these merits I now dedicate to train and follow in their footsteps. As all the Buddhas of the past, present, and future praise these aspirations as supreme, I now dedicate all these roots of virtue for all beings to perfect good actions. By this accumulation of merit, may I obtain all-seeing omniscience, and may all faults be defeated. The whirling, turbulent waves of birth, aging, sickness, and death, from this ocean of samsara, may I liberate beings. Om Ahom Benzer Guru Pema Siddhi Hom. Om Ahom Benzer Guru Pema Siddhi Hom. Om Ahom Benzer Guru Pema Siddhi Hom. Thank you, everyone.